What is up, everyone? My name is Max Curry, and I'm the creator of Death Cassette Games. God, it's fucking hot in here. In our last video, we went over building a death collision to perform instant death and simulate physics to ragdoll our main character. And in this video, we're going to be building a simple damage and health system. But before that, the intro. All right, guys. We are in UE, or Unreal Engine 5.3. If you've been following along, you might recognize this sandbox world. This is our testing ground for some of the systems we've been building. You can see our environment collisions here to allow us to move into the background, and a ladder to allow us to climb over walls. And now we're going to be building a widget for our health bar, as well as a simple damage system. So let's get into it. The first thing we need to do is go into our blueprint character. I've done some housekeeping in the nodes, or in the event graph here, because I'm a little OCD. I want things to be nice and neat. But I've created this health system comment to house literally anything that revolves around damage, health, or death and respawn. I added enough room up here for what we're going to be doing today and some systems we're going to be developing later. But the first thing that we want to do in here is we want to create some new variables. So the first thing we need is a boolean for is the character dead. Then we need max health, and we want this one to be a float. We're also going to need a standard health for a float, and I think that should be it for right now. All right, so now what we need to do is we need to add a default value to these, but we can't do that till we compile. So compile and save, and then let's set our max health to 100 for now, and we'll do the same on our health. The reason we have a max health and a standard health is because I want the health of the player to be upgraded later. So the max health pool can be increased by items that are picked up later, and then the health will represent the current health of the character. So the first thing we're going to need in our event graph is we're going to need event any damage. It's a standard event type in UE. But now what we want to do is we want to get that isDead variable. And off of that, we want to get a not boolean. And then we're going to get a branch. We're going to plug that in as our condition and then just plug it straight into the event. So this is basically just saying, is the character dead? If the character is not dead, then we're going to do something. So from here, what we want to do is we want to get our health. And from that, we want to do a subtract float. And we're just going to plug in the damage output into that. So we're basically saying whatever the damage is that's received, subtract it from our health. Let's straighten this. And from that new integer, what we want to do, or the new value rather, we want to get a clamp. Not a clamp axis. I do that every time. We want to get a clamp float. All right. So our minimum value is going to be 0, and we want to set our max value as our max health. So from here, we're going to drag our health, and we want to set the new health variable to whatever the return value is from that clamp. So this is basically saying, if our character is not dead and we receive damage, subtract that damage from our current health, and then set the new health to whatever that value is. Now, we're going to want another branch. And before we set that, we need a condition. So what we're going to do is, off of our new health value, we're going to do minus or less than or equal to. And we're going to leave that value at 0. So if the new health value is less than or equal to 0, we're going to come off of this for true, and we're going to get our instant death. So if you've been following along, the last time when we created our instant death collision, we created a custom event called instant death. So if the player is not dead and they receive damage, subtract that damage from the health, and if that new health value is less than or equal to 0, then perform the instant death event, which we created here, which will destroy the actor, which will then cause the event destroyed action to respawn the character. But now that we've got that instant death or is dead variable, I'm going to plug that in here, and I want to set this. So we're going to set this as true. So when the instant death is performed, simulate physics and set is dead to true. Upon respawn, spawn the player and set this variable as false. So the character is not dead. All right, we're going to compile and we're going to save. Now what we need to do is create our widget, which is going to be basically our health bar. So we're going to go into our HUD here, and we are going to get a user interface widget blueprint, user widget. I'm going to name this one health bar. All right, let's go ahead and open it. So this is our canvas. There isn't a canvas panel in here yet, so you have to search that, canvas, and then drag it in. Drag it in. Now we've got our canvas. These two arrows down here, these represent a drag off option for the resolution of our screen. So I'm going to drag this down to full HD. Now what we want to do is add a progress bar. So we're going to drag that in here. I'm going to set the X and Y positions at 20 and the size to 300 and the height to 30. You can obviously set these to whatever you want based on your screen or your value, whatever you want. I also want to make sure that the anchor is set to the top left, so no matter what resolution the screen is, it stays in the same relative place. So down here we've got a style section. This is really for adding in custom designed bars if you want, or custom designed graphics for your health bar or whatever your progress bar represents. I'm not going to get into that. I'm mostly focusing on the system. So we're going to go down here to our standard appearance, and I'm going to set my fill color to red. That's good enough. Make it a little darker. Okay. And then I'm going to set the percent to 100. So you see it turned red over here. Let's increase this. Let's make this 400. All right. Compile. Now what we want to do is we want to bind this percent. So we're going to create a binding. So in here, we're also going to need to create some variables. We're going to need a health variable, and we want it to be a float, just like in our player character. And we also want to add a max health. All right. So what we want to do here is we want to get our health, and we want to get our max health, and then we want to divide off of our health. And we're going to plug our max health in there as well, and then plug that into the return node for our percent. So basically what this is doing is dividing our current health by our maximum health, which is going to turn it into a percent for our widget. Now what we want to do is up in the top left, go into our event graph. We don't need pre-construct, and we don't need event tick, but on event construct, what we're going to do is we're going to cast to our character, and from our object we're going to get player character, like that, And then we want to promote this to a variable. So right click and promote to variable. And we're going to rename this to character ref. And compile and save. So now that we've got that, we want to go back into our player character and we need to create the widget on our screen. So over here on event begin play, you can search it, or if you've already got it, I already have it here. It's standard for the third person character template that I've got. This is our input mapping. And so if you've already got it used like I do, you don't really want to mess with what it's already plugged into. So you want to disconnect this, hold S, and add a sequence. Plug your 0 into your default code here, and then off of your 1, drag it out. And we want to create widget. So in our create widget, we want to set this to our health bar. Oops. And then we want to promote this to a variable as well. So this variable I'm going to rename as health widget reference. Okay. So from here, what we want is we want to set our max health and we want to get our max health from our player character. And then additionally, we want to do the same thing for set health, just like that. And we want to get our health from our player character and plug that in right there. So from here, what we want to get is our add to viewport. And we want to set the target as our widget. So basically, this breaks down as on event begin play, do our standard code, but then also create the widget and set the max health of the widget to the max health of the character, and then set the health of the widget to the health of the character, and then add it to our screen. Compile and save. Now, down here in our damage, we're going to do something similar. We want to disconnect our less than or equal to node. Move this out, give ourselves a little bit of room. And we want to get that reference we just created for our widget. Plug that in right here. And off of this, we want to set health. All right. So we're going to plug that in right here. And we're going to plug in the health off of the new health value that we set after receiving damage. And then we're going to set that value to less than or equal to 0. So now this reads, if the character is not dead and they have received damage, subtract that damage from our health and set our new health variable, update our widget, or our health bar, and if the value of our health bar is less than or equal to 0, perform instant death. That should be it, guys. Now all we need to do is create a character that represents our damage. So let's go into our environment system and create a new blueprint class actor. I'm just going to call this one damage for now. And just like we do in our other systems, we're going to add a collision, but I want to do, let's just do a box. We'll stick with the box for now. Box collision. All right, and with our box selected, we want to scroll down and just like normal, get on component begin overlap. We don't need these, at least not yet. So on component begin overlap, what we want to do is we want to get apply damage. And for damaged actor, we're going to plug other actor in. So in the event that we have an enemy AI stumble into the area, get knocked into the area, or interact with whatever this system is supposed to represent, we want them to get damaged as well. And then off of a damage causer, we're going to get a reference to self. And then we need to set our damage. So the base damage, I'm going to set mine to 10 for now. You can drag off of this. You can create random integers, floats. You can do a range. You can do a lot of different things. But I'm just going to set mine for 10 right now. We're going to compile and save. And what we're going to do is we're going to drag in our component right here. Scale it up a bit. Good enough. All right. We'll hit play. As you can see, we've got our health bar in the top left like it's supposed to. And we can clear this, no damage, but let's say we fall and eventually, instantly, it removes health from our health bar. Perfect. All right, guys, that's all I've got this time. Be sure to like and subscribe. Follow us on Instagram at Death Cassette Games. And we'll see you in the next one. Cheers.